Hey everyone, so welcome back to Push Talk. Today is April 26th, and we are super excited because we have a very special guest. We have been honored this week, James, to have so many different types of guests. Yesterday we talked about mental health, but we're
Yes.
getting ready to go into election season, and I think we have a perfect guest to kind of introduce us and bring us into that. We have the great Bryce Bennett, who is representing a nonprofit organization called Vote Early Day. And I was just actually reading your profile, Bryce. You grew up in Montana, huh?
I grew up in Montana. Yeah. I lived there for all my life before just about a year ago when I moved over to Washington, D.C. to take on this mantle and do the important work of helping Americans vote early.
And it's interesting. I was reading your profile, right? That you come from a small town in Montana. The profile says that your like community that you come from, the population was like about 400 people, roughly. So
Yeah,
why?
I think that was the high point of where we were in Hysham, but about 200 people there now.
Wow. So like, what motivates you? It's interesting that we hear about a lot of organizations and people getting started on stuff like this from big cities, Atlanta, for example, New York. But what makes a small town person from a small place in Montana want to pick up such a big mantle when voting rights and voting, period, has become such a national issue?
Yeah, from a very early age, I got involved with nonprofits that would do nonpartisan work to help ensure that everybody was registered to vote and helping them turn out to vote. And that was something that was very important to me because you could see the excitement flow over people when they registered for the first time, when they knew that they had a voice in our democracy and had a chance to engage in this civic space in a way that wasn't something that just had to wash over them, but was something that they got to be an active participant in. And, from the early stages of doing that, I've been hooked ever since. I mean, I want to do everything that I can. And I know that my organization, Vote Early Day, wants to do everything that we can to ensure that every voice is heard, every vote is counted, and everyone has a chance to have their say ahead of Election Day.
So, quick question. I mean, going back a little bit, tell us more about Vote Early Daily. How did you guys get started? What was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so Vote Early Day was founded in 2020. It was a response to the fact that we've got great holidays like National Voter Registration Day that has been around for a decade this year, but we didn't have sort of the follow-up, the logical, next step of saying once you're registered, let's make sure that you actually go out and vote. So a series of organizations, media companies at the national level, corporations, nonprofits came together to forge this new civic holiday called Vote Early Day. And they did that to make sure that every voter had the tools and knowledge to cast their ballots ahead of Election Day. And, obviously, there's a number of challenges that people run into when they wait until Election Day to cast their ballots. I mean, things like long lines, busy schedules. You know that, if you were planning to go to vote on Election Day and all of a sudden the childcare falls through, or there's an additional work meeting that you have to go to, or something else comes up, so often people just say, I just don't have the time, I don't have the capacity, and they decide not to share their voice. And then, certainly beyond that, as I know that you all have been talking about, we're seeing a lot of changes in election laws all across the country. So, people may show up on Election Day and find out that their polling location is no longer a polling location, or they don't have the right ID that they needed from the last time. So, when you vote early, you're able to overcome so many of those obstacles, and you have a chance to ensure that your voice is heard and that you get a chance to really lean in and have your voice truly, sing out.
I mean, I know you probably know this, but it's interesting because in the state of Florida, the Governor DeSantis actually just signed another add-on to their voting rights bill or whatever you want to call it down in Florida now, where he actually has created a police force that's charged with dealing with voting fraud, right? And there was an article that came out that in the last election, they actually only had, I think it was 140 or like 100 cases of voter fraud reported. In only about 100 cases, only 42 of those were actually referred over to the police department to be investigated. So I mean, it's something that's interesting. I find it interesting when we talk about voter fraud, but we talk about what 1.8 million people voted and 140 people that you say committed fraud. That's not like a huge issue, right? So it's I think it's funny how you're talking about voting early kind of eliminates some of those things, right? Kind of eliminates the states like Georgia here will have changed like where your ballot box is at now. Like for me, I can use in a perfect example. Like where I went and voted last year in 2020, even voting last year in January is not the spot I can go vote at this year. They've actually moved the location that's almost 5 miles away from the location that was there before. But talk to us about some of the organizations that are actually involved in this.
Yeah, the thing that is so special about Vote Early Day is the diverse partners, both at the national and local level, that make this holiday possible. It's an open source holiday, and people come together to celebrate in a way that's meaningful and impactful to them. But we've got at the national level, big media companies like our friends at MTV and Paramount, as well as groups like Univision. We've got nonprofit organizations like the Center for Tech and Civic Life and Students Learn, Students Vote. And then, of course, corporate groups like the Civic Alliance and so many others like Patagonia and Twitter that go above and beyond to make sure that they're utilizing all the tools that they bring to the table to give people the knowledge and the tools to cast their ballots early. But I think so much of the lifeblood of what makes this holiday special is that the local organizations that celebrate on the ground. Since we were founded in 2020, we've had thousands of organizations in every single state and community across the country putting together marches to the polls and celebrations at the polls, educational events, so many amazing things that make this holiday special. And, we are always telling people that, just like there's no right way to celebrate the 4th of July or Halloween, there's no one way that people celebrate Vote Early Day. And it's been so inspiring to see all these amazing groups coming up with creative ways to help the people in their neighborhood cast their ballots ahead of Election Day.
So 2022, what would Vote Early Day look like this year?
So we've had a tremendous amount of success with Vote Early Day. Only launching just a couple years ago, we celebrated our second ever Vote Early Day in 2021. So we're building towards our third ever, and we are absolutely dedicated to making sure that it is the biggest, most exciting, and most impactful celebration that we've created yet, because we know that this moment calls for it. This is going to be a big election in 2022, but it's not going to have the same sort of highlights and spotlight that you see with the presidential election. So people aren't just going to roll out to vote because they are inundated with it every single day in the news. We're going to have to go above and beyond to make sure that people know that Election Day is coming up. There's a big chance for them to have their say, and that voting early matters. So, we are working to recruit 150 national partners. We're working to recruit 3,000 community partners all across the country. Both of our recruitment levels are now open. If people want to go to voteearlyday.org and sign up, we would love to have you all involved. But we are also building some larger tentpole activations this year. And one of them that we're working on right now will be in Atlanta to make sure that we have a chance to actually connect with people where they are, encourage them to vote early, and have some larger events that break through a lot of the partisan politics and politics as usual that seems to dominate the news cycle. So we've got big plans for this year, and we're very excited for all the partners who are going to make that possible.
So I can guarantee you this much, that I know we will be signing on at the end of the year. And I mean, not the end of the year, the end of the day. But I'm also going to reach out to some other organizations that I know are doing voting rights work here in the state of Georgia, because I think it's important that, and what I love so much about your profile too, and just reading more about voting for Early Day, is that it's nonpartisan, right? I don't really care
Absolutely.
about whether a person is a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever you are. The most important voice we have in a democracy of this type is our right to vote. That's how we get our voice across, and that's how we elect people who supposedly go after the same values we go after. Why is it so important for those who are out there watching and saying like it's not important that I vote? And I always tell the story of, I think it was in 2018, there was an election in South Carolina, North Carolina, where it literally was determined by a straw poll because the vote was like tied. But explain to people, because I mean, maybe hearing it from me is not enough, but why is it so important to actually get out and vote, period?
Well, it's absolutely critical. I mean, your vote is your voice. And I know that in the way that people look at politics today, it can often seem very negative. It can sometimes seem very toxic. And I think that there's a lot of, ways that pushes people away from wanting to have a say in their democracy, wanting to participate at all. But I think that by having events like Vote Early Day, we bring a new flavor to politics. We bring a new excitement to the work that people are doing to help people understand that politics doesn't have to be the negative mudslinging that you see on TV. It can be your opportunity to step into that ballot booth, to mail in your ballot, to vote early in the way that's most exciting for you, and have your voice heard so that the things that are important to you, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, independent, or somewhere in between, so that those ideas are reflected in the government that is you. I mean, the people are the government, and the folks that you send to represent you, the initiatives that you vote on in your community, are a reflection of when you get a chance to have your say on election day, or certainly the days leading up to it.
Awesome. I wanted to know what your social media presence is looking like, and where we can find you all, where people can find you. I'm sure it's voteearlyday.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all across social media, you can find us at Vote Early Day. We're very lucky that we got that channel early on. So on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and certainly at our website, voteearlyday.org, you'll be able to see all those different opportunities. And we're pretty darn active. And something that I do want to throw out to folks is that we've got our big holiday that is happening this year on October 28th, and I hope that everyone will sign up to participate with it. But we also want to make sure that there's opportunities for people to learn about options to vote early throughout the year, because we've got primary elections that are happening all the way up until we get to the fall's election. So we've been posting on social media opportunities for people to vote early state by state. So if you follow us, you'll know when you will be receiving your ballot in the mail. If you're a state that does that, you'll know when you can have in-person options to vote early in each individual state out there. So not only do we post some really fun and exciting and engaging pieces, but we also have some great educational and informational information that lets people know about their options to vote early, not just for the fall, but every day and every state leading up to it.
Fantastic. That really gives people an opportunity, once they start following you, how they can keep up and what they can share with their friends to be able to make sure that everyone is signed up and registered, and then get out to vote. And this is how people can also get involved with your organization as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you are somebody that is interested in celebrating Vote Early Day, if you're an organization that is interested in celebrating Vote Early Day, and like I said, we are an open source holiday. Everybody gets to celebrate it in a way that's meaningful for you. So whether you're a national organization or a local community organization, we are eager to celebrate with you. And you can go to voteearlyday.org and click the Get Involved link, and you can see the sign up. Very, very easy to get involved. So, and certainly a great place for you to find out more information about all the tools that we provide people as well, because we know, and I certainly know as a former nonprofit executive director back in Montana, that there's a lot going on. People are already busy doing so much to make sure that whether you're a business or a nonprofit or any type of organization out there, a campus group, you're already doing so much to make sure that people are aware that election day is coming up and that they need to cast their ballot. So we want to provide you every tool in the book, whether it's social media or potential releases or different swag that we send you in the mail to make your celebration especially exciting. We want to make this as easy as possible, so we're adding value to the important work that our partners are doing on the ground, not adding something on top of it.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. You've heard exactly how you can get involved. You've heard everything that you needed to know as far as what the organization needs to do. The problem is, and the kicker is, that you need to sign up and you need to do the work, be able to get out there and be a part of Vote Early Day and be a part of the organization and getting the work done. You have to put your foot to the ground and get to stepping that we can get this all done and the voting done in a direction and get the votes out there, get the people out there.
And I wanted to point out, the real I was looking at on my phone is that for people who are in Georgia, I want to make you guys aware that we do have an election coming up on May 24th. Like Bryce mentioned, that May 24th is our election day. He had 5 primaries, but early voting starts on May 2nd. So that's important that people understand that they are able to start early voting on May 2nd, next Monday. So we need to get out and vote early, because like Bryce mentioned, man, he brought up a lot of very valid points. Like, voting early does eliminate you having to wait in line. Like we have seen in the last elections, definitely the presidential elections, people are waiting in line for hours to vote. Early voting kind of eliminates that and kind of helps that out as well. And if you have elderly parents, I mean, it helps them out to not have to go and wait in line or sit out there all day.
Make sure your license or your ID is in order. If you
Yeah.
should, early, do it early, and you have an idea as to where you need to go. Where your polling place has moved, has been relocated. You can find, you can get everything done in a timely fashion, especially when it comes to, these up and coming primary elections and all the elections that's getting ready to take place next month and everything. So it really eliminates a lot of excuses for a lot of people.
And I wanted to throw this out again too. Remind everybody that Bryce's website for the organization that he's a part of is voteearlyday.org. .org, or you can go on Facebook, you can go on Instagram. I'm assuming they have a Kick. I mean, not Kick, because it's Snapchat. I'm still keeping up, man. But anyway, just hashtag Vote Early Day. Remember that this year, we want to try to get everybody out on October 20, starting on October 28th, to just really get out and vote early. I think that's imperative. Yeah, make it a big block party. So we in Atlanta, I know I can speak on behalf of some of the nonprofits in Atlanta that we're going to be on board. And we want to make sure that everybody else is on board. And Bryce, man, we thank you so much for coming on all the way from DC, from a small town in Montana where the highest population is 400. And currently we have a population of 200, man. We are just extremely grateful for the work you guys are doing, for what Vote Early Day is doing, and for the work that you're doing, and the sacrifice you've made to even do the work, to be able to leave your town and go to a big city like DC, to be able to do that work, and we're appreciative of that. So remember, you guys, please go out to the website, voteearlyday.org, check them out. Please register to vote. If you have not registered to vote, go to your state's website or go to our website, and there's listings of different states and the different ways you can check your status online. If you're in Georgia, you can go to sos.ga.gov and make sure that you're registered to vote. If you're not registered, and if you are registered, get out and vote early, everybody. Let's get out and vote early. Let's get out and show people that as much as they try to hinder our vote across the country, that them trying to hinder our vote is not going to do anything but make us want to get out and vote more.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Bryce, again for the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a real pleasure to be with you.
Nice, the pleasure's all ours. But check out these few additional ads that we have going on. We have a lot of events coming up, so here's a few ads Ali's going to play for us before we close out for the day.
I saw the Statue of Liberty getting ready to blow out the torch. I said, but Lady Liberty, give me one more chance. She said, well, give me your best shot, or we're going to have a meeting, Lady Liberty. And let me tell you, it's about one accord.
One accord is what we need.
Bible says that when they got on one accord, nobody lacked because they were on one accord.
With this kind of energy, even in our community, we too will be able to push back the soot.
I need them to stand up for that which is right. Stand up for the poor. Stand up for the women. Stand up for all of God's children. And let's be on one accord. One accord. One accord. Be ye not only hearers.
People are dying because they're waiting on us. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?